Hello and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse, the podcast all about animated movies not made by the mouse. I'm your host, Octaviano Macias, and once again, I'm joined here by John. I know it's been a
So
while.
I know it has been a while. I'm glad to be back. It's gonna be a good time.
So today, wait, was there a read sound right now?
A what?
I don't know, I just heard something come on.
No,
Okay, I don't know. This thing is acting weird. Okay,
it
hopefully,
doesn't like it doesn't like you at all.
I don't know. You know what? I got a new PC.
No,
It's much stronger than the previous one, but I
it
think
doesn't seem like it. It's not acting like it.
but anyways, so today we're gonna be talking about Batman Under the Red Hood. Now, before we get into that, I just want to point out that originally I was kind of hoping that we would talk about food fights, so I actually didn't end up watching that. But of course I know you got busy, so you haven't been able to watch it.
Yeah.
Uh we'll talk about it some summer day, hopefully, maybe. I just want to point out that I kind of fell asleep halfway through that.
No,
It's not the first time I've ever seen that movie, but it's almost always the same thing. I fall asleep during the bit with the characters fighting back against the evil fascist corporate brand
yeah.
lady. But anyways, that story for another day. Just wanted to point that out, just so that doesn't go to the waste. But yeah, we're talking about Batman Under the Red Hood. Hey, before we get this video started, I just want to say thank you for coming on. And if you enjoyed this video, like it, comment below for whatever reason you have, whether it's a question or you just want to give a shout out or just whatever. And if you've been watching a few of my videos, why haven't you subscribed yet? I mean, I'm sure some of you already have, but if you haven't, please consider subscribing. It won't hurt. It will get you more of my content. And if you really want to see some more stuff, ring that bell. Again, thank you for coming on, and I hope you enjoyed the video. For those of you who aren't aware of Batman Under the Red Hood, it's one of the many DC animated movies that they've released straight to video over the years. Honestly, they've been doing this for almost, I want to say, 15, 16 years now. I know that one of the first ones they did was like the Superman Doomsday thing, but they've been doing so many of these that it's hard to remember when exactly this started. Those of you who aren't aware of which one this one is, it's basically the one where we kind of see the story of like the second Robin's death. There's a whole mystery, not really that hard to figure out, especially if you're a Batman fan, on who this new Red Hood is. And you got other villains in there like Joker, Black Mask. It's a really fun movie. My only thing is that it's honestly on the short side. It's only like 75 minutes, and I know that's the thing with a lot of these animated movies that they make. It's just short, but I feel like it could have been a little bit longer to flesh some stuff out.
No, you are right. It is one of the shorter films. 70, I think it's like 72 minutes. It is a really good film though, and it kind of it encapsulates the story of how of Jason Todd becoming the Red Hood. I think pretty well.
Spoilers,
I'll stop. If you're hearing this podcast, you've seen this movie.
but
And if not,
realistic.
if not, you could just throw that out. I mean, come on, you have the power of editing.
I mean, to be fair, you're not wrong. Like I said, it is a very obvious twist because it's kind of like going into the second Captain America movie and being surprised that Bucky is the Winter Soldier.
Exactly.
If you've never seen these comics, you'll probably be surprised. If you've seen these comics, if you've seen any of the cartoons, you already knew that was coming.
Not to mention this movie came out in, I believe, 2010.
Yeah,
It's been 15 years. I mean, I think the timeline for spoilers is over.
that's a fair point. This is that whole story, and it is a kind of impressive how much they managed to pack in within the short runtime. I do think to an extent it helps if you're familiar with Batman, just because even though it's easy enough for new viewers, like like if this is your first time watching a Batman thing, it'll be easy enough to understand. But there are some stuff in there where it's like, okay, this would probably only make sense if you know enough about Batman. Like they have like Ra's al Ghul in there, and at some point you see him with his daughter, and it's like if you don't know anything about Batman, you're gonna be questioning why he has this girl right next to him. Not too much because it's just one small scene, but it's still one of those things where it's like seeing stuff like the Riddler and just all these weird things might be
Yeah,
a bit weird for new viewers.
yeah, and it's kind of one of those things too where like even if even if you're not a big Batman fan or you just know of Batman, you know the immediate like villains, like the Joker, Penguin, the Riddler, the Red Hood is not one of those that is a common name. So it's kind of one of those more like I said earlier, like if you're listening to this podcast or you've known about this movie, it's most likely because you are a comic book fan and you've delved in there in search of like specifically that kind of stuff, like you're not just a casual viewer.
I mean, I would say that this is still a worthwhile watch if you're not too big into comics. I still think that at the very least, maybe watch a couple of episodes of like the 90s cartoon, or if you've seen any of the movies, you'll probably get a better hang of it just because it does kind of go into some stuff without really explaining what they are. Not that it does it too bad where new viewers can't figure it out, but it's going to be a little weird for new viewers. Like you have characters name dropping, like you said, like the Penguin, Riddler, and stuff like that. Like because you have Jason Todd at some point, the Red Hood basically pointing out like, oh, I don't want you to kill like the Penguin or whatever. I just want you to kill Joker because of what he did to me.
Yeah,
Um, like and that way, like if anyone's ever seen the animated movie Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is like the theatrical movie from the original cartoon from the 90s. It's kind of following a similar thing where it's just a character who was connected to Batman and was forced away from him because of the Joker, basically trying to get some revenge, trying to murder the Joker. While Batman is, of course, on the side of like, look, I don't like him, but I'm not into murdering. Like that's too far for me.
yeah, and there is a point too where like during that monologue that he's telling Batman, like you said, like I'm not telling you to kill the Penguin, I'm not telling you to kill the Riddler, I'm telling you to kill him for what he did to me, but like even Batman says it himself, like you don't think I haven't thought about killing him, you don't think that every waking moment that's not what comes to my mind, but that's not who Batman is. Batman doesn't kill, you know. And the whole point of this movie is like when it boils down to it is Jason Todd is just wondering why is he still alive? Why is the Joker still alive? If Batman cared about him as much as he says he does, again through Jason Todd's eyes, like why is the Joker still running around? Why is he still alive? Because in theory, like if you love someone and they end up hurting somebody you care for truly, you would go through extreme lengths to possibly get revenge or something like that. So he's just like, why is he still alive? He takes it under his own his own hands, you know. So
And one thing I will say that this movie does really well is get you into that emotion of basically feeling sorry for Jason. Like even though you kind of understand, like okay, he's probably taking things too far, you do kind of feel like, well, he was kind of murdered by the Joker. Um, and of course they explain how he was brought back by Ra's al Ghul, so that's how he factors into this. Uh, and you do see like flashbacks of like when he first became Robin, so it kind of gives you a lot to actually care about it to a point that even though I think the ending could be done a little bit better, like I feel like it just kind of ends. I do like how it ends with just showing like okay, this was his first day being Robin, and just seeing that little moment of like okay, this is how it started. It's so sad knowing how exactly it ended and how this kid turned out.
yeah, and it kind of goes for like to think about um it's something that Batman could have controlled. Like Jason Todd didn't have to become the second Robin, you know. He Batman took him under his wing and like you know taught him and like raised him to be this like ass kicking machine. And like you said, like throughout the movie they sprinkle in like scenes of Jason as a child and like how happy he was and like that like kind of like Adam West style Batman, where it's like all colorful and happy, and then you fast forward it to like the present time, and it's all dark and gritty. Like, I think the tones between the flashback and the present are a really cool, like a really cool touch, and it does add to like at least an emotional factor of like the movie begins with that scene, like that's how this movie starts. It begins with that scene of like Batman rushing over to go save Robin, and you as the viewer, you're watching everything unfold and like how he's being treated. Then you start, as you're watching the movie, you see like him as a child, and I mean it really does make you feel for Jason. Like, again, like it's human nature. Like you feel horrible for the things he's gone through, especially seeing him growing up, and then you understand, like, okay, I get it. I understand why you want to kill the Joker, you know, but it's just not. It's Batman. This is Batman. You don't kill.
And it's really just the whole thing about what's too far or what's not. That's something that I kind of wish that they would have talked about more throughout the movie, just because it really like unless you're really big into Batman, you'll understand perfectly like why he does that, and he does kind of explain it in this movie. Oh, like like, look, if I started killing him, I'll probably start killing a bunch of other people. So I don't want to go that far, but I do think they could have given a little more time to have him actually like showcase like why he feels that way. Again, when I know when it comes to these straight to video animated movies, they don't really give him a lot of time. I don't know if that's changed, because I've heard that for some of the more recent ones they've allowed them to go longer, but I know a lot of them just still stay within like the 70-minute runtime. I don't know. It's something I would have liked more for this one. But on the whole, I mean, it is a really good movie. I like how a lot of the actors that are in this, give really good performances. Like you would think, okay, the guy who does the Joker in this is John DiMaggio, who most people know as like Bender from Futurama, Jake the Dog, and Adventure Time. If you had asked me, like, okay, is he a good choice for the Joker? I wouldn't have thought of it, just because I normally think of the Joker as this guy with like a higher pitched voice, especially because of the laugh. But I think he
Uh,
does it really well for this movie, especially with how creepy it is when he's pretty much taunting characters over like their deaths, murders, or whatever.
yeah, and then like it also helps that the animation style, the way that they drew the Joker in this movie, you can see John DiMaggio's voice coming out of that. Like the character design that they used for this particular Joker wouldn't necessarily work with like Mark Hamill's voice. I think the way that they animated this Joker was perfect for, John DiMaggio, and he didn't do a bad job actually. I would probably go as far as say he's probably obviously now everybody has their own opinion, but at least mine is always Mark Hamill. So that's the Joker. Then I would follow it with John DiMaggio. He did a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but I do think he is one of the better Jokers that there's been. Honestly, it's like, yeah, I get why people consider this to be like a more underrated performance, just because, like I said, normally when you think of the Joker, you think of like a more high pitched kind of voice,
Yeah.
not this like lower, tone where it's like he's. I don't want to say he's talking slowly, but it's kind of like more slower than you would normally expect for like a Joker. Like he's like really hammering on like the stuff that's messed up with what he's saying, and you still get some of that unexpected, surprising, like like dark humor kind of stuff. Like there's a scene where he's with Black Mask, because Black Mask tries to break him out just to get Red Hood to pop out, and he basically kills like the three henchmen that he had with him. um and he just basically makes like a little joke where he's like, "Oh, I need some men for whatever you're gonna have me do. Not these men, because they're kind of dead, but some other men."
I mean that the little sprinkles like that they do they add character, like I won't say character, but like life to this film. Like it's just little details like that that separates this Joker from like like Mark Hamill's Joker and other Jokers. You know,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I think the rest of the voice cast too did a really good job. For some reason I can't remember any of their names.
Uh,
Um,
I know Jensen Ackles. I hope I'm saying that right, but the guy from Supernatural
yeah,
is Red Hood, and
yeah,
he's actually really good in that.
I can't
Uh,
remember. Can't remember Batman's voice.
Batman, I'm actually forgetting who it is right now. But I know Neil Patrick Harris shows up as Nightwing. He's actually fine. I actually didn't even realize it was Neil Patrick Harris the first time I saw it. Yeah, I can't remember who Batman is. I know it's
it's like
uh,
something green. I can't remember. I can't remember the name.
I don't know. Let me see if I can look it up real quick because yeah, I'm not getting it in mind right now. Bruce Greenwood. He's
See,
actually really good in this. I don't know too much about him. Yeah, I can't keep to mind who that is, but
I knew his last name had the word green in it. That's as far as I knew.
well, yeah, the guy's name is Bruce Greenwood. I guess I'm not really too familiar with that actor, is what I'm saying.
It's always been a, kind of a hard thing for me to remember voice actors because you're not watching them, like you would a live action movie.
Yeah,
So it's kind of hard.
but yeah, I don't know. I think they all do a really good performance. You also get a good performance out of Black Mask, which with Black Mask, I know that's definitely one of the more obscure Batman villains, at least in comparison to some of the other stuff that we've had. Because as far as I can think of, the only other time I've seen Black Mask in anything was maybe the Harley Quinn movie that they did. But um, yeah, I mean he's a fun character here to just beating up some of his own men whenever he gets pissed about the shit that the Red Hood is doing. As far as the Batman movies go, this is definitely one of the ones that I've always preferred more. Like, and I'm not talking about like not even just the animated stuff, but even just grouping it together with like all the live action stuff, the theatrical stuff. This is actually one of my top favorites. Watching it again, I'm like, okay, I do notice a few more issues than I've noticed, watching it like almost a decade back because it's been a long time since I've watched it completely. But for the most part, it's like most of the stuff that I have an issue with is not a matter of like the movie doing it bad, just the movie not being given enough time to do more, which again I can't really fault it too much when I know that that's kind of a hard rule that they have for this since it's a straight to video movie.
Yeah, trying to squeeze all that information into 75 minutes. I mean, you just gotta pick and choose. I mean, I think the story that they told, beginning to end, was pretty solid, and it is. I wouldn't want to like. It is a really good Batman film. Um, I wouldn't put it at like my favorite or up there, but it is one that I can go back to watch without a problem. You know.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, like I said, it's definitely among my favorites, but I mean, there's so many Batman movies. Like the only ones that I would say I definitely prefer over this one are pretty much the two Tim Burton Batman movies, the Lego Batman movie, uh, the recent The Batman, with Robert Pattinson. I thought that was a really good one.
I haven't even seen that.
You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
You gotta watch it. I mean, I will say that movie runs too long, but
Hmm.
it's a really good movie. Beyond that, I don't know. Maybe The Dark Knight Returns. Like I don't know if you've seen both of those.
Yes, I love those movies.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I mean,
Uh,
granted, I know it's technically two parts, but whatever. It's technically one movie.
yeah, it's one big movie.
But yeah, I mean, I would say it's still one of my favorites. I mean, I don't know. It's at the very least one of the better straight to video DC movies because they've made a lot of them, and even though I haven't seen them all, the ones I have seen have been kind of hit or miss. So I don't know. This one still stands out to me.
I think it depends on what you're watching and who made it, because like there is a plethora of Batman movies. So there's a lot of DC movies, and specifically the animated ones. But like eh, everybody has their taste. Um, did you watch like did you like Killing Joke? That one was really good. The Dark Knight Returns 1 and 2. So it fits perfectly fine within that scale of old animated films, but it's just one of those that's like, if it's on, I'll watch it. I might not go out of my way to to replay it, but it's still not bad. Like, it's not a bad movie. It's actually really good. It's just there's just a lot better stuff out there. You know?
I mean, what I'll say this, even though I haven't, this was like my first time watching it completely, since 2010, pretty much. Over the years, the one scene that, well, technically two scenes that I've been rewatching pretty much every year has always been the whole bit where you finally have Red Hood confronting Batman and basically giving him the ultimatum of like, okay, either I kill him or you kill him or whatever, or and also the ending itself, which is how I've noticed that, yeah, it's a bit abrupt, even though it is a good way to end it, especially for something like that is this short, that it's able to get to me that emotional. I don't know. I think it just shows the skill on what they made. Um, I definitely think that it could have been better, but for what they were able to do with it, especially with the limitations that they have, it's just impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, 75 minutes to tell a whole story of Jason Todd and how he became Red Hood and confronting Batman. I mean, you're right. They could have definitely made it a lot better, but um, this time frame is just they did what they could with what they had, and it wasn't bad. From beginning to end, you start with that scene with Jason dying, then you skip ahead to when he confronted Batman and basically makes him choose like it's him or me. Like I kill him or you have to stop me. And again, it goes back to Batman telling him like, dude, I don't kill. Like it's just not what I do. And ultimately, how like every Batman movie goes, he finds a way to stop him. But it's just that feeling that like that emotionally you feel for Jason because you're like, dude, like he looked up to Batman, he trusted Batman, you know he took him under his wing, he was supposed to protect him, and at the very end of yeah, his life, I guess, because I mean we all know how he came back, but you know at the very end of it, he wasn't there to protect him. You know, he got beat to death with a crowbar and then exploded in the what is it, warehouse?
Yeah, it was a warehouse.
And when you get to the ending of the movie, and you see him, like you said, like on that first Robin mission, and you've seen all the little all the flashbacks that they sent of him being a child, and like the difference of him being Robin um to Red Hood. It's like, I mean, you can see that change. There's no longer that protection of like, I'm under Batman and like he's gonna protect me and everything. It's more like you can see the fear in his eyes when he's talking to him, like he was scared when he was facing death and Batman wasn't there to protect him. And I don't remember exactly if he does tell him that he doesn't blame him for it, but I do remember that he does ask him, like, again, why is the Joker still alive? If you care for me this badly, if you love me like you said you did, why is he still running around? I think that's like the ultimate, question of this film. And I think for it being like, you make this whole movie about that single question. I think it's really good. You
Yeah,
know.
I'll say this much. I know at this point we're pretty much wrapping this up since there's not much more we can really talk about this one. But
Yeah.
one thing I noticed rewatching it is that it has one of the most annoying and forced lines that that tends to pop up with stuff whenever they're like, okay, we're gonna try to explain this, but we're also um don't want to make it seem like this is the first time these characters have heard this information.
Mhm.
And it's a common line that pops up in a lot of things, and that's when Ra's al Ghul is explaining like how he brought Jason Todd back to life. He basically tells Batman, "As you know, I have the Lazarus pit," and I'm like, I fucking hate that line, just because it's one of the laziest things that a lot of movies do, where it's like, okay, we don't want to make it seem like these people are just getting this information, but the audience needs this information. So how do we explain that to the audience while bringing it in to make it part of the conversation? We'll just have the character say, as you know, I have this and this and this. It's like,
Yeah, I think it's funny too because like you said, like they want to be able to tell the audience, oh, the Lazarus Pit, that's how he came back. But if you're watching a Batman film, chances are you already know what the Lazarus Pit is and doesn't need to be explained.
yeah, like I was looking at that because, and it's funny because even within the movie, they kind of do it in a way where it's like, okay, even if you were new to this, they probably could have explained it a lot easier by just having him say, okay, so I've always used the Lazarus Pit to make myself younger, but I um I when I got Jason Todd, I realized that I could try bringing him back using that or something. Like, I'm just spitballing here, but he could have just mentioned like, okay, since even within the scene, he explains that this is the first time he's tried bringing someone back from the dead using the Lazarus Pit. He could have just said like, okay, I just brought him back to use, like what's normally used for just making people younger. I tried seeing if it could work with reviving people, and it worked or some shit. I don't know. I feel
Yeah.
like that probably would have been a little more natural than just him saying, as you know, the Lazarus
Oh,
Pit is the pit that I used to heal myself.
yeah, as you know, and then insert reason. So yeah, it's cool. But I
Yeah, I
don't.
mean,
It's pretty funny.
yeah, I don't know. It's always one of the silliest things I hear in movies, and it's one of the most common ones. This character saying, "As you know, I explained to you something that the character should know, but I'm mostly explaining it to the audience just because they don't know." I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I
Yeah.
said, for me, one of the better Batman movies, compared to a lot of the other ones. Granted, there are, of course, ones that I prefer, but I just thought it was a really good one. So I definitely recommend it if you're seeking it out. I don't know if they still have DVD copies of it out there just because it's been so long, but at the very least, HBO Max has it. So
Bill Max has it now. I mean, who's buying DVDs?
I mean, I'm just saying because HBO Max has taken a lot of shit down that
That's
you
true.
can't even find anymore. So
True. That's true. You're right. I mean, eBay. eBay has DVDs. I'm sure you can find it there.
that's true.
We live in a world where everything's kind of secondhand, so I'm sure you can find it if you really want Batman Under the Red Hood on DVD. I mean, come on,
I'm just saying, like through some official source. I don't know.
the official. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. I mean, this movies. I know this podcast probably seems shorter than ones we've done in the past, um, but this movie is pretty short. There's only so many times you could spin this, story in a different manner.
Yeah, there's not really much behind the scenes stuff to even
Yeah,
work with to even talk about it from that perspective.
no.
It's not like Food Fight where I could spend an hour just talking about how at some point there's a scene where a character's just standing around waving his arms around, just like, and then it's like, okay, what are you waving your arms around? Like, there's a conversation going on in the foreground. What the fuck are you doing with your hands going like? But
I
that,
I have not had the time or energy to sit down and watch Food Fight. I want to, and I'm going to. We're going to talk about this, and it's probably going to be one of the funniest things ever because this is probably one of the greatest animated films of all time.
so great that they had to make it after someone stole all the files. They just remade the whole movie.
Oh Lord! And we'll just save all that bit of information for the next podcast because I think once I do end up watching it, it's probably going to be funny.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again next time.
Thank you, Ben.
As you know, I achieve this by bathing in the rejuvenating waters of the Lazarus Pit.
Thank you for coming on today. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel where you'll see video versions of these podcasts. And if you just want to listen to them, there's always the option of just following the podcast on their various sites, whether it's Spotify, Podbean, or Apple Podcasts. Whatever you choose, I hope you continue enjoying these. And if you want to support me even further than that, there's always the option of Patreon. With Patreon, even just $1 will get your name on the video versions of this and on other videos that I may do outside of these podcasts. A few dollars more gets you some behind the scenes info, and as this continues to grow, you'll find that there's more perks to it. So I hope you consider supporting me through Patreon as well. And in any case, again, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.